any broken promises that you've experienced in your relationships, you must try and remember how your parents have made you broken promises and when you were growing up. Hi ladies, how are you? Hope you had a really good day. Thank you for joining me for show 10 it is. Can you believe that? Show 10. Far out. I started on the 24th of April this year. So anyone who has been with me the last 10 shows, thank you very much. And thank you for coming today. Today's subject, guys who make empty promises. Why is this? Very frustrating, very hurtful behaviours. Something that makes women lose faith in relationships. If he keeps making empty promises right in the beginning and she takes note, then maybe she won't continue that relationship later on. Hopefully that happens. If the broken promises have been going on for some years, if it's an established relationship, if it's your partner or husband, then there's always the hope that, oh well, if it's a bigger occasion or it feels more important, then maybe he'll follow through this time, or he won't do it for me, maybe he'll do it for the kids, or he won't do it for, you know, my whatever clothes and makeup needs, but he might do it for our finances or what have you. And there's always this hope that the promise will be fulfilled next time. That's the killer, I think. Where hope comes in. I'm writing, if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, if I have little pauses, that's what I'm doing. Promises kept, the hope that is around that keeps women in bad relationships and keeps the frustration going. So like, you know, every week or every month, you know, she's thinking, oh well, you know, surely he won't stuff up my birthday, you know, some kind of special evening we might have together because, well, he said, you know, surely he's going to do it this time, because the hope is there. Because people, women don't want to lose faith in their relationships. They want to make it like a kind of rainbow situation where he is good, or he is always good, or he's better than the other guys, or women can lie to themselves a lot because they're hoping that the empty promises will sometimes or at some point get fulfilled. So it is something to look out for. How much are you hoping that the empty promises will get fulfilled? Also, how long will you wait for them to get fulfilled? This is an issue. The longer you wait, the more frustration builds. The longer you wait, the less faith you've got in the relationship. It's like this kind of circular effect where things, at least in your mind, don't improve, and then hoping and waiting leads to your mind going crazy because all you can think about is, you better not let me down this time, or but how could he, because last time then this happened, and well then surely not, and or what can I do maybe to help him keep his promise. Women hate doing things to remind the man of what he should be doing, because then it sort of feels like, well, it's coming from her and not from him, so what's the point? It's just like, oh, okay, you know, the woman is like almost running the relationship by herself because she's always coming up with the ideas, and that can happen too, and sometimes that's necessary. Making and breaking promises on a repetitive basis starts to move into another category. So if you're, okay, there are two categories with this guys who make empty promises thing. If you're in a new relationship, or if you're in established relationship, established. So, as an example, in a new relationship, he might say lots of things, particularly in the dating stage. You look so beautiful. Oh, look at how great you dress. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. You've just changed my whole week. Everything's better in my life since I met you. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, this sounds really good. Hopefully it's true. Hope you want to believe that it's true. Maybe it is a little bit true, but maybe he just wants to get in your pants. And maybe he'll say things to woo you, being good with his words. Oh, next time I see you, let's go for a beautiful drive into the country, and I'll take you to my favourite restaurant. It's really plush and amazing, and you'll love it. Oh, and you're already thinking, oh, that could happen. That'd be really exciting. Well, I better be good then. I better be good, or I better, women think that their behaviour needs to change. So, in general, if there's a promise made, then the woman is feeling that this can apply to a lesbian relationship. I'm not an expert in them, but you can maybe apply some of what I'm talking about to your relationship. I'm not leaving you out. So if he is making promises, then she's going to feel like I better keep my behaviour a certain way, so hopefully he fulfills his promise. So when he makes a promise, it can be about manipulating your behaviour. Manipulate, that's just a short, if you're watching this. Yes, so all these different things to be aware of. If you're hoping and waiting for him to fulfill his promise, then you're going to go more and more crazy over time, because you're waiting for him to do the really great, nice thing that he promised you. In a new relationship, he might say really beautiful things. So I'll put here beautiful things about your appearance, or your words, or your voice, or your smile, whatever, your car, your house. Oh, everything's so great about you in all these different ways. And then he can maybe woo you into having sex with him sooner than later. So that's something else to look out for. In an established relationship, it can be that he makes empty promises because, unfortunately, he might want to get you off his back. This is this thing I've mentioned in other recordings about how men have this issue about talking about issues, and that they don't discuss things. They tend not to raise an important relationship subject unless it's particularly got to do with them, something that they want, not for the good of the relationship. It's that tends to be one of the few times that he might raise an issue. So if you're trying to get him to talk about something important between you, maybe your sex life, or maybe who does more cleaning in the house, or who brings in more or less money, or any problems with the finances, whatever it is. In an established relationship, especially if you're, again, this sort of really depends. Again, things get split, because there are new relationships. There's a bit more established relationships where the couple isn't living together. There are more established relationships where the couple are living together. So it depends on how much live together, not live together. It depends on how much he wants to get you off his back. So this is not right, by the way. So just because I'm saying it, I'm not agreeing with him at all. It's to help you understand his motivations and to help you watch out for what he does and how he does it and when. Keeping a few steps ahead of him, I suppose. So to get you off his back by saying, oh, look, you know, can we just not talk about this now, whatever the issue is, girlfriend, lover, wife, can we just pause and let's just, you know, have a really nice dinner next weekend. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take you to this great place. You know, like I said, the country drive example earlier. Hi, Mel, for watching. Hello. And other people who are watching that their names aren't on my screen. Yeah, so can we not talk about this issue now? Get you off his back. Boyfriend, husband, you said you'd be, washing both our cars and vacuuming the house. You said you'd do that and you still haven't. Oh, so he might have been told 5 times, 20 times. And he's like, oh no, I want to do something else. He wants to fulfill his own wants or needs sooner than later, so he can't do what you want him to do that he's already promised so many times. Can we, look, yep, I'll do it. Can you do something? So sometimes the broken promises or the empty promises lead into him asking you to do something that can distract you away from what you've asked him to do over and over. So asking you things, you know, yes, I'll do what you want, you know, can you just please make dinner tonight, or can you just please I really need, a new shirt or some new socks, or can you just do that? And then I'll do those things that you've asked, to sort of get you to do more things that he wants. So that's something too. Please like my page on Facebook. Please follow me on Instagram. I think I haven't mentioned that before. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel and listen to me on SoundCloud. So they're all the ways that you can find me, and it would be so great. I would love it if you could do that, and we could be with each other more often. And you can ask me all these questions if you like in the chat, and it'll be fun. Right, so back to guys who make empty promises. Okay, so it happens in new and established relationships. You tend not to argue that much in a new relationship, but maybe about the 3-month mark, the familiarity builds and things start to, issues start to get known. So it's still a new relationship if it's 3 months. So in a new or established relationship, he makes empty promises because, I'm looking at my notes here, how to summarize my own notes, because he wants to reduce the arguments. So you're at him and he might be at you back, or maybe he's not saying anything. Definitely one of the things that my ex-boyfriends used to do. I'd be at them and they'd just say nothing, and they really are not allowed to say nothing because you need answers and you need help, and you don't want to feel like you're in the relationship by yourself, so they need to say something. Sometimes they don't. So just to get you to stop arguing with them, if they're not walking away, or if they're not yelling back at you, and maybe your voice is louder than theirs, or they want to make you like them again. They're trying to reduce the arguments, and they're they don't want you to be unhappy with them, because that might create disadvantages for them down the track. So they want to increase you being happy with them. Arguments, to reduce arguments and to increase your happiness with them only for the moment. Okay, so this is very temp for temporary. They'll say something to make you happy. Can we just stop talking about this now? Or oh, I'm really sorry, or so unhappy with whatever, something that I've done. They probably won't say sorry either, but I'll just pretend, right? So I know, let's, you've talked about, needing some new clothes, or you've talked about some ring or bangle that you'd really like. Let's go and do that for you next week or next month. And there's this time factor, next time. So it tends not to be, let's do something for you now to make you happy now, or to stop you arguing now. It would probably be down the track, so that the arguments get reduced for at least 1 week, because he said that next time that he's promising something, he's got like about a 1 week buffer for you to potentially stay in a better mood, or for you to be nicer to him and not argue with him as much. Again, it's not you arguing with him because you just feel like arguing. It generally tends to be because he's not listening, or he's ignoring you, not paying attention. He's not valuing what you have to say or taking you seriously. So the promises tend to be in a week or a month, or maybe even next year, year. So it gets back to this thing about manipulating your behavior. If he makes a promise, then that means certain things are more likely to happen. And we don't want to believe these things about our men. So it's something to keep in mind. If you haven't seen this show before, there are lots of other shows about relationships and spiritual subjects, personal growth, in the Facebook kind of history, and also especially if you go to YouTube. So you'll be able to find more things that you'd like to know more about, to help you in life, to support you. Guys who make empty promises. Now, we've talked about the hoping and waiting that you might do. The promises are made to manipulate your behavior in terms of time, and if he promises something in 1 week or 1 month time, you're more likely to be a good girl, to get you off his back. He can make empty promises to have sex with you earlier than later if you're in a new relationship. Also, men like to keep things the same, right? They don't like change. So they like the relationship to sort of stay roughly at the level that they like. So if you're saying something to them about what they need to change, I want you to change this about when you come home, how often you communicate, the time or energy or money you might, me pretending to be the woman talking to the man, the time or energy you might put aside for certain financial things or health things or social things. He's not going to necessarily embrace the change, because he wants things to be the same, and he doesn't want his own little boat rocked. So he'll promise things to keep the relationship where it is. And you just have to get better with these empty promises. With these empty promises, you have to get better at monitoring. when he does it, how he does it, the length of time that he does it for. So, like, does he do it once a week, once a month? What problems does it create? How long are you waiting? And also when he does it. Does he do it particularly when you're angry, particularly when you're crying, particularly when he is in the middle of doing something else and he wants to get you off your back then? Particularly because he wants you, okay, so there's another thing that's popped into my head. Yes, I have it in my notes there. He makes empty promises because maybe he wants you to give him money for something. This has happened to me. And to a few of my clients who he'll say all sorts of beautiful things, unfortunately, so that you can you just pay for the holiday? Can you just pay for dinner? Can you just pay for the car getting fixed? Can you just pay for the new car? Can you just pay for the new set of tools or equipment I need? Or can you just pay for the house mortgage? Or can you pay for my child's or my friends or my family members' health or whatever other requirements? So he might say empty promises because he wants you to pay for something. That's very sad. And again, when it happened to me, most of what I talk about has happened to me. And then, by no surprise, has happened to most of my clients, where in one form or another. So when there was an empty promise made to me about, oh, can you just pay for the holiday? I'll pay you back. Those words, I'll pay you back, tends not to happen. Now, and this is where the downheartedness comes in, and you lose so much faith and you really don't want to believe that he's some terrible person who is just using you, because women never want to believe that, oh, I rescued him, I made his life better, you know, if it wasn't for me, he'd be on the streets. Do you really want a guy like that? Like, you don't want to be spending your life rescuing people. Now, there are other examples that I want to talk about, but this main point about why the promises get broken. Why are you choosing men who break promises all the time? Why do you stay with men who break promises all the time? Right. Most people don't want to talk about or think about how their parents have influenced their life. They don't want to dig into childhood conditioning and how they were raised because it's all too confronting. But if you really want to break any pattern in your relationship, you have got to look at how your parents treated you as you were growing up. One thing that definitely happened to me as one example, I could mention a million, but we don't have time. One example where I'll just say one of my parents, to stop my mind from going into other discussions. One of my parents said, oh, can you just, give me 500 or 1,000, or how much money have you got in the bank at the moment, or you're doing well at the moment, or oh, it's just for now, or oh, don't worry, I'll pay you back. So I copied that into my relationships. Not many of them. I learnt quickly. But one of my earlier relationships, the man I was with said almost verbatim the same words. Oh, can you just pay for that? I'll pay you back. And the payment back never happened. And it tended to be that never happened with that parent of mine either, because it's okay, my daughter won't mind, or she loves me, or she doesn't, she wants to help me, all of these things. So that's just one example of an empty promise that I copied from how my parents treated me into my relationships. So we're about to finish up, but when your boyfriend, your lover, your husband is making empty promises, and this parental conditioning thing I could talk about for endless hundreds of millions of hours. It's a big topic. I hope to come back to it. Any broken promises that you've experienced in your relationships, you must try and remember how your parents have made you broken promises and when you were growing up. It's essential to stop this habit so that the next boyfriend, if you're married or in a long-term relationship, it's harder to break up. It shouldn't be, but it is. So if you're in a newer relationship and you're discovering patterns with your new boyfriend and he's making empty promises, you must start to remember, face it, like acknowledge it, let yourself believe that, oh yes, my parents, one of them in particular perhaps, really did make a lot of empty promises to me, and oh right, and to start identifying that, to start catching them. If you're still in contact with your parents, to start catching them just in your mind, just to start off with, noticing when they say something that leads you down a garden path and you start believing that they're going to do something for you and they don't end up doing it. So that's how you start to attract a better guy. Again, that's a whole other topic. Now, if you're watching this, you probably need a session, and even if you've seen me, in the last month or in the last 3 months, you probably need to come back, because there are so many problems in relationships, that like the myriad of different issues that women come to me with. Benita, he's doing this, he's treating me like that, oh, I suffered in this way, I didn't sleep, I lost money, I've been depressed, what have you, I've been anxious, I haven't been able to function. You need to come for a session because you need help. Firstly, you need me to listen, you need me to validate where you're at, because I can feel everything that you've gone through. And I've got all these different tools to find out, more about him and your situation with him through his birth numbers and through the tarot and all sorts of other things. Healing would be great for you to get all of this stress and anxiety, like move it out, so that you're not holding it all in you, and just that thing about not functioning, not being able to study or work properly, not being able to sort of even think clearly in the supermarket, not being able to drive without 5 billion thoughts in your head. You need a session, because you can't live like that. You will feel so much better if you come for a healing, or at least have a half-hour phone session with me to support you. I will believe you, what you say about your relationship or non-relationship experiences. Some people feel like, oh, I'll say things and she won't believe me. The counsellor or the psychiatrist, they won't believe me. It sounds too far out. I'll believe you. So do come. Do have a session on the phone. Thank you for joining me. Yay. And listen to my recordings on SoundCloud. Follow me on Instagram. Please like my page on Facebook, and all of my Facebook followers and people who have liked me on Facebook, please go to YouTube and subscribe to me there. I'd love it. It'll be great. I'll be ever so grateful, and I hope today has helped. Again, we might come back to this subject because it's a good one, and it's got a lot of different other aspects to why he breaks his promises. The parental conditioning's at the top, and then the other reasons why he does it too. So he is giving you hope, and he's making you wait, potentially to manipulate your behaviour. Maybe he wants to have sex with you earlier than later, or maybe if you're in an established relationship and he hasn't had sex for 3 months because maybe you haven't wanted to because he's done all sorts of wrong things. He might give you a broken promise to help you have sex with him sooner. He might want to get you off his back because he's hopeless at addressing issues, and he just wants you to stop yelling at him, or he wants you to stop crying. He wants you to be happy and he just wants things to get back to how they were. So he'll say lots of beautiful things to keep you in a certain state and keep him feeling maybe more peaceful than he deserves. I think the only way, we've gone a few minutes over, oh well. The only way to really, well, one of the only ways to help yourself not go on this cycle of getting sucked in with his broken promises or empty promises is watching what he does and when he does it with these promises, writing them down. Oh, Tuesday, he said this, he would do this. Oh, okay, so it's come to the following week and he hasn't done it. Right, note that down too. Keep a tab, like a tally in a journal or a diary, so that you can prove to yourself, oh, I have actually let him off the hook 10 times this month, 100 times this month. Right, he's actually doing this. Sometimes the man can lie. Oh no, I didn't say that. No, you're just making it up, or you've just twisted things in your head. If it really comes down to you tape recording what he says, then maybe you need to do that so that you can prove at least to yourself, well, he did actually say it. Or he makes a promise to you. Oh, can you just put that in writing? Then you can shove it under his nose later on and say, well, you said this. You're not actually doing anything wrong because you want him to fulfill a promise. You want to have a good relationship. You just want to be happy. You don't want to be mad at him. You want to have nice romantic times together. It's not your fault that you want him to fulfill his promise. So, right, I will say goodbye now. Thanks, Jade, for doing so much technical stuff. We had a whole, how long was it? An hour and a half or something. Yeah, an hour and a half of checking all the equipment and making sure it worked. I couldn't do the show without you, Jade. Thank you. Couldn't do the show without all the people watching and following me, so thank you very much. Have a lovely day, evening, and see you next time. Bye.